Itamar Ben-Gvir, the far-right security minister of Israel, continued this tour around the United States, somehow allowed to tour. This is a man who was convicted in an Israeli court of incitement to racism and which, is basically like hate crimes. I mean, it sounds not a lot, but that's just a hate crime. This is a guy who's openly wielded a gun in East Jerusalem at Palestinians. This is someone who basically endorses terrorism and part of the Kahanist movement of Israel, the most extremist. He openly believes that Gaza should be colonized for the very first time, I guess, and is on board with the ethnic cleansing that we're seeing play out every damn day. And the other thing that keeps me up in the middle of the night, in addition to dumb little things. But what unfolded after the protests of his visit is truly chilling. Now, there were basically two women who were attacked and followed by a massive mob of mostly like young Jewish men, seemingly mostly Orthodox, pro-Ben-Gvir fans, right? And here's just a little bit of what one person captured on their phone of this woman who was not part of the anti-Ben-Gvir protests. In fact, she was just in the neighborhood and kind of like watching what was unfolding. The mob kind of like sicked their attention on her, assumed she was like pro-Palestinian. She put a handkerchief over her face to protect her, and this is kind of what unfolded. So she's being escorted by one cop. There's only one cop who's next to her. And there's like maybe, 100 or so. And it's the Global HQ of Shabbat Lubavitch. Thank you. Now they're singing Death to Arabs. And then this cuts to another moment. One pushes a trash can in front of her. Now a guy's about to throw a cone at her. And she's still being escorted just by one cop. Go back to chanting Death to Arabs. And then they sort of get her finally to this one police car. She gets escorted home. And this is terrifying. This is like, I cannot believe that she was all alone. In fact, she talks about this. She spoke to Hellgate Reporting in New York. She said she had since spoken to an NYPD detective who told her they were going to try to prosecute those involved, although she's still been unable to formally report the incident because the officers she'd been waiting to talk to at her apartment, quote, never showed up. This is from the New York Times. The crowd chanted Death to Arabs in Hebrew, followed her, and an officer had begun escorting her. Many also shouted racist and sexist anti-Arab profanities as others shoved her. At least one hurled an orange construction cone at her head before the officer was able to put her in the vehicle, footage shows. The police department said in a statement that the officer escorting the woman saw her surrounded and pushed through the group to bring her to safety. She was taken home in a department vehicle. Even Eric Adams took to Twitter and was like, hate has no place in New York City except for, all the undocumented people I'm rounding up, saying that the NYPD is going to be investigating this. And, the other interesting part about this is the other woman who was attacked and actually hit in the face was an Israeli woman, or a woman with an Israeli passport. She tweeted, we don't know her name, and I think everyone is protecting her identity, but she posted on Instagram, the only thing that gives me some joy is that while all the Zios were celebrating and laughing at me, I'm over here thinking y'all hit a Jew with a damn Israeli passport. Great job. She sort of like posted a photo of herself, saying the EMT said she looked cute still, and, trying to make light of it, but it is deeply disturbing. And so it's like good to see Eric Adams saying something. I was also kind of heartened that Jerry Nadler, rep of obviously a Jewish representative of New York, longest serving Jewish member of the House. He basically he was joined by rabbis and Brad Lander, the comptroller, and announced he'd introduce legislation designed to impose economic sanctions on Israeli settlers who commit violence in the West Bank. He said, quote, "It's the message everyone else should take. We don't support this. Whatever he say, there are major Jewish groups who are opposed to this, who support a democratic, peaceful Israel, and are opposed to the kind of racism and violence that he represents." And that's directly at Ben-Gvir. I mean, Josh, it's wild because we're just in this time when Columbia students are being rounded up, their visas are being revoked. University of Michigan students are having their doors busted in by law enforcement. And yet we have all of these instances of actual violence from pro-Israel groups and people that just kind of don't hit. It's just like it's like we're supposed to pretend we don't even see what's going on.
Yeah, it's really upsetting and disheartening. I think the Eric Adams statement is more of a anytime he can pat the police on the back, that's what he's going to do. So he found the pro cop angle in this.
Right.
That wasn't really the issue at play, but he was like, thank goodness the NYPD escorted this woman to safety.
The
it's like,
one
that's what
guy.
That's what you got from this. And yeah, it's really tough. It's hard. And I liked seeing Representative Nadler speak up, and Brad Lander, I think, has been pretty consistent too. But it's tough to say, like, as New Yorkers, we don't stand for this. As Jewish people, we don't stand for this. As American people, we don't stand for this. Because there's so often a rejoinder from people who are pro-Israel in everything it does, that will go, yes, we do stand for it. This is the thing we stand for the most. And it's hard to combat, but it is like really important to see the coalition of people that are coming together to oppose this violence and ethnic cleansing, and to like really pay attention to the people who are standing up against it and the consequences they're facing. Like you said, Columbia students being sent to prison, not being able to contact their lawyers, Tufts students getting thrown in a van by masked ICE agents. And it's like, this is, and gosh, where was I reading? But like, just under the guise of stopping anti-Semitism, which like clearly is not the salient issue here.
I mean, what's crazy is, like, first of all, they would have done so much worse to these. I mean, they did to the woman who actually has an Israeli passport, ironically, again. But for, I think a lot of these extremists, it does not matter whether you're Jewish. It doesn't matter whether you're Israeli. If you have any sympathies to the Palestinian people, your Jewishness is immediately revoked. You are no longer a Jew.
I mean, Trump said that about Chuck Schumer, right? Trump said he's not Jewish anymore. And it's like,
he's a Palestinian.
And I feel like it is not the salient point here, but I think it is worth reiterating that like anti-Semitism exists and is bad, and this isn't what it is, and this isn't how you stop it from happening.
It's Kanye wearing a literal Klansman outfit. Like, I've been losing my mind that like there's a lot of anti-Semitism happening. But again, and I think like it's nice that Nadler said that, and I don't know Lander's full backstory with it, but I do think you got to name the groups. Okay, is it JVP? Because it better as hell be JVP. Like, it better be Jewish Voice for Peace. It better be Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. It better be If Not Now. It better be all these great, awesome organizations that have been really carrying the torch on this. And but I hate when it's just like, well, there are Jewish groups. It's like, stand up for them then. Stand up for them, because they don't feel like they're being supported by Jews in powerful places like yourself, like the congressman, And so, but yeah, it's also just shows you, like, look, there is extremism in this issue, but honestly, it really comes from one side, especially in the US. Especially in the US, we're seeing this because we have not seen that level of violence coming from the other side at all. And my God, have they been looking, because they've been equating, scrawling a triangle on a fucking statue as that level of violence, or saying from the river to the sea as that level of violence. But no one's been hit, no one's been kicked, no one's been chased by massive, pro-Palestinian mobs. No, we've just not seen that. So it's like, again, produce the evidence, because otherwise, anyway, I digress, because it's
really sad and scary, and and I think it's heartening to remember that most people are not on that side. Most people aren't ready to show up and act as independent private security for Ben-Gvir. You
Yes. And
know?
it's also proof that we were like, okay, maybe travel restrictions should exist for a reason. Because when like someone who is a terrorist sympathizer, like an actual terrorist sympathizer, comes to your city, you know what's going to happen. Like there's going to be a lot of extremist people there, no matter who they are, no matter what they stand for. You should protect the people of your city better than that, Eric Adams. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do it.